Did everybody get my email?
No.
Okay. Those of you who did not get my email, are you trying to add the class? Okay. Good luck. For the rest of you, anybody who's in the class but did not get the email, check your spam folder. It almost always gets labeled as spam.
Going to the student email or your normal email?
It's going to your normal email. Supposedly, the student email got set up. I don't see hide or hair of it, so I'm sure at some point it will be set up. Okay. But since you brought it up, and it's a good point, as the semester progresses, if they actually work it out, that will be the official method of communicating with students. And the reason for that is very simple. Let's say you send me a question about one of your papers, and I respond back, and your mom opens up that email. What is that a violation of? Privacy laws. So if she has access to it. So supposedly, with a student email, you're at least giving, we're assuming and you are asserting that you have not given anyone else access to it. And so you are accepting the fact that we can respond to it. Okay? So your grades, your papers are only the property of you. No one else can see them. Okay? Any questions on that? Okay, for those of you who did not get the email, it was a brilliant email, I thought. Anyway, no, it has your syllabus in it, along with your textbook. So you do not need to buy a textbook for this class. Like that one, I know. How much did you pay for that thing?
$140.
Can I hold it up for a second?
Yeah.
No students.
$140 for art that is already old. This guy does not get anything for having his painting on the cover, just to let you know. So anyway, so what I did was I put together my own textbook. You do need to buy the novel, which costs you...
If you rent it from the bookstore, it's $4.40.
And if you buy it at the books at any other bookstore in America, it's $4.40. So you can either rent it or own it, and you can get a used copy. I don't care what copy you get. So this class shouldn't cost you much. Okay, but you will notice one thing. Everything in the textbook is over 100 years old, or roughly 100 years old. Why is that? Exactly, because nothing decent has been written in the last 100 years. It's all garbage from... No. The reason is very simple. Copyright. By going past the copyright date, I can provide the textbook for free, and hey, that's not a bad deal. So, granted, the stories are a little bit older, but they are wonderful stories. Our play is Henry V by Shakespeare. I think that's his name. Anyway, somebody, he kind of wrote some plays. I just picked it up. I've never heard of him before. But I hear he has good things in store for him. Anyway, so that's the play for the class. And then as mentioned, the novel is Life of Pi by Anne Martel. Has anyone read Life of Pi already? Did you like it?
I read it a long time ago.
Did you like it? I'm sorry?
No, really, I didn't understand it.
Oh, well, it's okay. It's got a twist to it, and that's kind of an important point. But but as far as a quick read, it wasn't a very. I mean, it wasn't fatal, was it? No. Okay, so that covers that. We will be doing 6 projects over the course of the semester, 4 papers, a midterm, and a final. Let me tell you right now, the midterm is difficult. The final is not. The midterm covers, but inversely, or conversely, the final is very important to me, whereas I don't care that much about the midterm. The midterm is about critical thinking skills. So you have to know the official terms for logic. Logical fallacies, logical problems, things like that. Okay? There's a handout, it's in your textbook. You can just memorize it. Okay? But you do need to be able to apply it. So, that's the midterm. For the final, it's a totally different question, and we'll get to it when we get to it. doesn't require you to study, and then there's 4 papers, each of which is worth exactly the same. If you want to know your grade, simply average. If you've got 2 papers, average 2 papers. If you've got a paper and a midterm, average the midterm and the paper. Well, you can't have a midterm and a paper. It would be 2 papers and a midterm. Okay? But just keep a running average as you go along. What happens if you bomb a paper? You can revise 1 of your 4 essays. Okay? However, what happens if you are really worried about a paper? Turn it in early, and then you can revise it as many times as you want. Okay? So come and see me, we'll go over it, I'll make some suggestions, and you're fine. You'll get good to go. Questions on that? Okay. So that's the scary part of this. Everything else is in the syllabus. If you don't have it yet, you should have it by by Thursday, I believe, simply because if you look in your spam folder, it'll be there. If there's a problem with your campus email,
I checked things not. I've gotten emails from other teachers.
I'm sorry?
I checked my spam, it wasn't there, and I've gotten emails from other teachers.
Okay. It was a huge file. Do you have some kind of filter to cut off?
I mean, I've gotten emails from the
Yeah, it should definitely fit within the emails parameters. Are you trying to add, or are you already in? Okay. Let's double check. But I mean, it should. And again, anybody who can't get through, just go to the English department webpage, look for my name, email me, and I'll send it to you as an attachment. It is a PDF file. Does anybody have trouble opening up a PDF? All right. Okay. So on that wonderful note. Let's start picking on people. Sir, what is your major?
Film.
Film. You don't count. No. Sir, what's your major?
Communication.
Communications. Still not far enough away. What's your major, sir?
Business.
Business. Good. That's a good major. Is there any use for this class for you?
Yeah.
How?
We use English every day.
That's true, but I'm not teaching you how to write memos.
Written communication, just how you communicate.
Okay.
It's used everywhere.
You think you'll ever communicate with your employees using a haiku?
No.
Dialogue?
That's who you work for.
Probably not. Okay. What's your major?
Mortuary science?
Mortuary science. Is there any chance that you're going to be using this class?
Probably in situations, different situations that are given throughout families.
Possibly dealing with families, but highly unlikely. I mean, when are you going to be telling stories?
True.
Yeah. I hope you're not telling stories. But there we go. Sir, what's your major?
English.
Unemployment? I'm sorry?
English. English. No, English.
English. Why on earth did you pick English?
It's always been an interest in me. I love like poetry and stuff like that. Yeah, I think communicating is very, like, good communication skills is important.
I can't tell you how much respect I just lost for you. Okay. I used to think you were like a stand-up guy. Oh well, all right. All right, English is his major, so this class is actually useful for him. What's your major?
Health science.
Health science. Tell me what you're going to use this class for. Exactly, nothing. Okay. I'm actually shocked at the number of you for whom there is some application of this class. For the rest of you, there is no application, right? What's your major, sir?
Business.
Business. What are you doing in this class? We're even trying to crash this class.
Critical thinking skills. Or you use that in everything.
Kind of. If you could take other classes to meet that requirement, couldn't you? Do you really want to read a play?
Absolutely.
Poetry?
Yep. You're right. I need to leave.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's very little application here. And yet, you're all required to take this course. And you are all required to take it at some point. Even if you don't take it here, even if you don't take it as 102, you'll take a literature course at some point. So, why on earth should that be required? Anybody? Yes?
Strike valid arguments.
I'm sorry?
Strike valid arguments.
Then take a critical thinking course. You know, I mean, why do you have to learn it through poetry?
use critical thinking from our past and use it for the future.
Okay, take a history class.
You can't understand culture today without understanding literature.
That's true, but then again, how many of us do you think Shakespeare has an impact on day-to-day lives of people?
Not day to day, no.
No, probably not. And again, I could make a valid argument that there's something more valuable today. Okay? So I have a tough time with this class, even though it's my favorite class to teach. How can we make it a requirement? Yes?
So in order to be legitimate, the state requires it.
That's the legal requirement, and you're right. But you would think the state would have better things to do. Heck, I think I could, for example, benefit from taking a health science class. Probably. Okay. So I'm not sure on that basis that's a valid argument. I mean, it's a valid argument as far as the legal requirement, of course. But do I buy it that that's why everybody should take this class? Not likely. So I always like to begin the semester, though, by explaining why you are doing this, okay? Because if you don't know why you're doing it, then you're never going to get anything out of it. So, as I said, this is my favorite class. And so I have to argue that there is some reason for people who are not in any way related to this major, or are taking classes not in any way related to this major, for them to take this class. Make sense? I mean, there's got to be something, right? How about this? And you mentioned critical thinking, and we'll bring that into it as well. When we are looking at the world around us, we get a lot of training, don't we? We learn how to do the skills that are required in our field. Okay. But we have a tough time with those interpersonal communication skills. Anybody here ever heard "I told you so"? Anybody want to elaborate on when they heard "I told you so"? Probably not.
Somebody tried to warn us to do something and kind of went ahead and did it. Kind of like the kids, or kind of like when the kids trying to touch the stove, mom says, "Don't touch it, don't
Exactly.
touch it." And dad just kind of lets them touch it because it works.
Yeah, but don't you think that's a, and in that case, dad's teaching you a lesson, but don't you think that "I told you so" represents some kind of a failure?
Yeah.
After all, what's the person saying by saying "I told you so"?
Or it can even
I was right, you're wrong.
themselves over somebody else can be in a sense of accomplishment as well.
Yeah, if the person's basically mean, but I mean, in a way, it represents a failure of communication, doesn't it? After all, I tried to warn you about something, and you did it anyway. Okay. How about this one? Any of you have a friend who was dating somebody, and you just looked at this person and said, "Oh, this is a disaster in the making"?
Oh, hell yeah.
Right? What wonderful powers of observation you have, sir.
From, like, my opinions on her?
Yeah. I mean, you could tell it was a disaster, right?
Oh, yeah.
Was it a disaster?
Yes.
Absolutely. How come you were so observant? No.
CSE English classes, yeah.
Ah, forget the CSE English classes. Just in general life, you can observe this in others, can't you?
Well, yeah, because I know my friend.
Mm-hmm.
And
You can see every flaw, every strength, every weakness, all of that, right?
of course,
How come they can't see it?
because they want to get some action.
It's not just that part of it. It's that they assume something, don't they?
Yeah.
That they know something better than you do. How good are you at judging your own relationships, if I may ask?
I mean, I'm never in one, so.
Okay, smart man. But for those of you who are good at dishing out the advice, how many of you have had problems of your own trying to apply it to yourself? How come?
The emotional ties.
Exactly. We're good at observing it in others. We're terrible at observing it in ourselves. Now, what happens when you tell your friend, "Hey, by the way, this is a real disaster about to happen"?
You don't know what you're talking about.
You got it. You have no idea what you're talking about. Which means lecture does not work, does it? Isn't that ironic that this is being presented?